horses down at the rail. Everly's Girl is 3 lengths off the lead. Warren's Queen Bee is in that group too, and Roman Empress at the back of the field. A half mile from home, Unwritten Code is the leader, 3/4 of a length. Prescott, Bold Choice, a joint second. On the far outside, Roman Empress takes fourth, has 4 lengths to make up. Then Everly's Girl inside, Addie Did It. 2 more to Warren's Queen Bee. Coming to the quarter pole, Unwritten Code tries to shake loose, has it 2.5 to Prescott third. Then Bold Choice, now starting to rally a bit along the inside, followed by Everly's Girl. They turn for home, and it's Unwritten Code by 4 lengths. Bold Choice on the inside and Prescott are both chasing. Final furlong, Unwritten Code, 3-length lead. Bold Choice starting to pick up some momentum, but it is Unwritten Code with a 2.5-length lead, and the wire's coming. Unwritten Code, coast to coast. Second to Bold Choice. Then it was Everly's Girl third, and Prescott finished fourth. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Santa Anita Park would like to encourage all owners and potential owners to head out to Fairplex on Tuesday for the California Thoroughbred Breeders Association Winter. All in. And they're off in the baffle. Olympic Legend fires out of there very quickly to take the lead. Smuggler's Run is coming through along the inside. Franklin One Star is in the mix as well. And on the outside, it's Shut Up Michael. Up onto the main course, Olympic Legend narrowly. Franklin One Star. Shut Up Michael is widest of all. Don't Sweat Dave is steadying just a bit. Echo Smith also in a little bit of a tight spot, and Smuggler's Run down at the rail. These 6 covered by less than 3 lengths with a half mile left to go. They're followed by Maglev, who's well held in the red silks. Might have to go around that group, and another 2 to Il Capitano. Around the far turn in the baffle, and it's Olympic Legend at the rail. Franklin One Star continues to press in second. Shut Up Michael, a length and a half off them in third. Smuggler's Run. Maglev is starting to make nice headway, will be caught wide, and it's coming now as the field turns for home. Franklin One Star on the outside of Olympic Legend. Maglev is cut loose. Shut Up Michael in the center of the course. Down at the rail, Smuggler's Run. They're in the final furlong, and it's a 1-horse race late. Maglev erupts through the stretch under Umberto Rispoli for a dominant win in the baffle. Won by 4, and it could have been much more. Don't Swear Dave was second. Then it was a photo between Echo Smith and Olympic Legend.
Live your life with passion and follow your dreams. If I had to speak to the youth of today, either at a high school graduation or maybe a college graduation, of course I won't, but if I had to, those would be the two words of advice or two pieces of advice that I would give them. And you know what? Our guest today has followed that advice. Hi, everybody. My name is Tom Quigley, VIP Player Concierge, also your seminar host for the next 40 minutes. And our guest today is the future of racing. He's 27 years old. I've got ties older than that. He's been coming to the races since he was 2 weeks old. His mom and grandfather brought him to the track. And you know what? He had a dream about working in racing. Obviously, he was always a horse player since he fell out of the womb. And recently, Sanita hired him. I'm pleased to welcome as my guest today, Sebastian Piscuskas. Sebastian, Seabass, welcome to the seminar.
Tom, thanks for having me again. Really, I appreciate it. We're going to have a lot of fun.
I can't believe it's been 5 years since I last had you outside at the East Paddock Gardens as my seminar guest. I thought you were 27 then. You were only 22. You're obviously a very polished young man. You have a passion for racing. You had no shot, right? 2 weeks old, you came to Sanita, and the rest is history.
I had no hope, Tom. This was it. I'm Teddy Atlas. I'm a lifer. Where am I going to go? I got nowhere else to go.
And you're a man of the people, as I described in my Twitter introduction, because, of course, not only do you hang out in the penthouse, which is known as the Eddie Logan Suite, you also hang out in the outhouse, which is known as the dungeon, the paddock room as well. That's kind of like the United Nations down there, but you've got a passion for racing. You've probably visited every nook and cranny here at the Great Race Place.
I've been everywhere and once over and then some. And, you know, as I'm known as the dungeon master, I spend a lot of time down in the dungeon and we have a good time. What can you do?
Now, obviously, you have a main focus on Southern California racing, but you also play the races from around the country. For those people, and believe it or not, there are a lot of people. You've been very fortunate in your life. You've been coming to Sanita for over 27 years, but there's a lot of people who have never been to the Great Race Place. We take it for granted. I don't think you do, but when you walk into the facility, what are some of the things that you kind of see and maybe think about?
When I first walk in, I just look up at the mountains every time. I look at the mountains, I check out the grandstand, I sit in the same place I've sat for 25 years. I go sit in new places I haven't been before. It's just every time I come here, I fall in love with it again. And I'm thrilled to be working here. And I'm just happy to be able to come here every day.
You get paid to come into the racetrack. That's hard to believe, but you're one of the fortunate few. What do you do now that you're working for Santa Anita /ExpressBet /First Bet? What are some of your job responsibilities?
Well, I'm responsible for changing my hat at least 3 or 4 times a day. But I head up the XP Rewards /Thoroughbreds program down at the main Thoroughbred Center. I just act as a first point of contact for our new folks to come in and our regulars.
A liaison.
That's right. That's a perfect word for it. And I serve as the bridge between two entities, if you will. And so I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, even if it wasn't a lot of fun, I get to come here every day. So I'm still winning.
Now, you know, we joke with our current general manager, Nate Newby. He's obviously the person in charge. 20 years ago, he started out as an intern in the marketing department. So he certainly has worked his way up. There's opportunity here. Of course, you'd love to make a career in racing.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to make a career in racing. Me and Nate have more than that in common. We're both Broncos fans. And it's been a long few years since we won a Super Bowl. But, you know, all you can do is hope for the best.
Now, the Super Bowl is going to be here in 9 days. Why are you a Broncos fan and not a Rams fan?
Well, you know, growing up as a 90s baby, you know, watching Elway ball out every Sunday. But I don't think the Rams were here when I was born. I tell you what, I think they were in St. Louis. And if they weren't here for long. So it's kind of hard to be a St. Louis Rams fan from Los Angeles.
Yesterday, 20 years ago, was Shu's last ride, which is hard to believe. 1990, as a matter of fact. I'm dating myself, so that would have been 32 years ago.
Right.
Prior to when you were born was Shu's last ride aboard Apache Ground Fog. Do you ever go back on YouTube and look at some of the old races that you were never able to witness in person? Some of the famous Sanita Derbies or Big Caps?
Oh, constantly. YouTube's my best friend when it comes to watching old replays. Even ones from my time, Lava Man. I go back and watch Affirm versus Aladar, Seattle Slew, Spectacular Bids, Walkover. I just watch it all. My YouTube is inundated with replays from, you know, times where it was 30 years before I was born.
You can tell he's a student of the game. We're going to find out if he can pick any winners. We're going to do all of that after we toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the early program changes on today's Friday's card here at beautiful Sanita Park.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. The track is fast, the turf is firm, the rail on the turf out 20 feet. Here are the early changes. First race starts with the 50-cent early pick 5, and there are no changes. The second race started the early pick 4, no changes. In the third, we have the program scratch of 6 Macara. Also, a scratch of number 9, Ducks on the Pond. There is a super high 5 carryover of $14,773. Fourth race starts the Rainbow Pick 6. Jackpot carryover for a single ticket winner, $313,000. No scratches or jockey changes. No scratches or jockey changes in the fifth, start of the late pick 5. Same for race 6, start of the late pick 4. No changes in the seventh. The eighth race today is the start of the golden hour pick 4. No changes. And in the ninth race, start of the golden hour double, no changes. Enjoy your day at the Great Race Place. At this time, we go back to Quigley's Corner.
Welcome back. We're talking to Sebastian Piscuskas. He's a recently newly hired employee here at the Great Race Place. He's also been coming to the races since he was 2 weeks old with his mom and grandfather. And Sebastian, I had to laugh when you joined me on set here. I saw that you just have a daily racing form. You're an old school handicapper. And of course, you grew up in the era of technology. Do you ever use computers to do handicapping, or is it just pen to paper?
It's pen to paper. I'll download the PPs on my computer and I'll look at it there, but nothing beats pen to paper for me.
Do you watch replays a lot? In other words, there's only so much information that can be contained in the daily racing form. Of course, when you watch race replays, you see a lot more than what's contained in the racing form. Do you watch a lot of race replays? And if you do, what do you look for?
I watch a lot of race replays. I used to watch a lot more. I'm focusing more on the betting side of it now as opposed to agonizing over tape for 4 hours a night. I found I freed up myself for more fruitful endeavors, if you will, more time with my family and just more time with myself.
Well, you mentioned a good point too. Not only are you spending more time with your family and friends, but also you're thinking more about how to structure your bets. In other words, a lot of people handicap, but then they run up to the window with 20 seconds to post and just basically blurt out something. In many ways, it's more important to kind of think about how you want to attack a race and get the most value and the most profit out of it. What are some of the wagers you like to play in order to accomplish that?
I'm a fan of the old win bet. I will stick to the win bets, bread and butter. Throw in some superfectas every now and again. Pick 4 mainly. I love the low takeout pick 5, so I have to put in a ticket if I really like a couple horses in a sequence, which I do today. So that's really good for me. But I tend to stick to the win bet. Keep it simple. Hey, Kiss, yes. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what I live by. When I get into the more complex things, I tend to foul myself up. So I just try to keep it simple and then expand when I have an opinion that I really like.
Is there an odds threshold when you make a win wager that you won't cross? In other words, if a horse is up on the board with blinking lights at 4 to 5, will you back off it or just keep plowing away if you love the horse?
I tell you what, I'm not the biggest fan of odds-on choices for win bets. Then I'll try to structure a decent superfecta where I, one combo the first 2 places. But if for the most part, I have an idea in my head of what I want to see for the horse. And if, for example, in my mind, the horse is 1 to 9 and he's on the board at 6 to 5, well, I might have to take 6 to 5. The opposite works the same as well. If I think a horse is 8 to 1 or 12 to 1 and he's on the board at 4, that's a no bet for me.
cold on the board is certainly something you want to avoid. And you talked about playing super, Sebastian. A lot of players kind of think to themselves, how the heck are you going to pick the fourth place finisher? But it really comes down to ticket structure, right? I know a lot of people actually key for fourth and work their way backwards. There's a lot of different ways you can attack it. Well, we've obviously seen a lot of runners that are maybe 1 for 25 lifetime, but they like to finish second, third, or fourth. Sometimes for the superfecta players, that's their best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. You love those types that they're honest, they try hard, and they like to get in the number at a big price. They might not win, but you'd be safe putting them in third and fourth and try to make something happen.
Let's see if we can win today by following your advice. So we kick things off here in race number 1, which, as Sebastian mentioned, starts the 50-cent early pick 5 with the low takeout. And we're going the rare 1.25 miles on the turf course. It's a starter allowance race for horses that have started for a claiming price of $40,000 or less since 2019. We've got just a field of 5, and the morning line favorite in the current betting choice at 4-5 is Moody Jim. Second back off the long layoff, but certainly that comeback race was very impressive, Sebastian.
Yeah, he was wonderful. He showed pace for really the first time in his career. Really relaxed well at the halfway point of the race, had a good kick home, and this is just an example of connections really knowing the condition book. I mean, you bring a horse back. He's a stakes type at one point when he was 3. You bring a horse back off a long layoff. You run him for 40, no takers, and you get to come right back here, starter 40, for a nice purse of $50,000.
He was also a first-time gelding that day. Perhaps that's another reason why he ran a career best buyer speed figure. I should say second best career buyer speed figure of 93. And you also get the writing services of Flavian Pratt. Do jockeys make an importance to you, Sebastian, whenever you're handicapping a race? In other words, let me rephrase it a different way. Do you try and avoid some of the marquee jockeys and find a better price, knowing that the marquee jockeys are going to be a shorter price?
So that is our plight out here. Flavian Pratt is wonderful. I'd say he's the best rider in the country, and there's a lot of confidence if you single Flavian Pratt, but you're going to have to take a shorter price every now and again. So jockeys do factor in from time to time for me. I like betting, hot riding apprentices, maybe guys that are overlooked or underrated, where you can get a better number on a price or on a horse like that. But for the most part, jockey doesn't necessarily factor in on whether or not I really like a horse or not.
We also saw in the graphic that we just were looking at that you also like the chances of number 1, Red King. Tell us why.
Red King, he's a class horse. Now he's in his 8-year-old season. He's been running really well. As a stakes performer, he got some class relief, much needed class relief, and won a nice race last time with Lasix back on. He gets to keep Lasix here. The only knock on him for a race like this is that there's really not a lot of pace in here. He's going to be up against it from a pace standpoint.
And you can take a look in the racing form. The youngest runners in this field are both 6 years old. Number 3, Kern, and number 4, Moody Jim. Senior citizens, hard-knocking horses running 1.25 miles on the turf course. And, of course, our turf course is firm. The rails today are at 20 feet. Race number 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 50-cent early pick 4. We're on the main track, and we're going 1 mile is the distance. Starter optional claiming types, just a field of 5. Number 3, Bud Knight from the Leonard Powell is 9-5 on John White's morning line. Talk to us about race 2.
So I really like Mongolian Legend here. He would be my second key to the pick 5, where Moody Jim is my first. I was really big on him in his last race. He's now been claimed by Doug O'Neill. This is a great move. Doug claims him, puts 4 good works into him. I mean, they're perfectly spaced. They're everything you want to see. In his last race, he caught Holden the Lute, who came back to win again. Holden the Lute got a perfect trip. He sat behind him. He wanted to lay in at the 8th pole, and he just kept trying. And Bud Knight ended up getting him in the final 16th. Bud Knight didn't have to do a lot of work and just got up inside of him. Now we get a new trainer, we get a new jockey, and a plus post. I really like Mongolian Legend here.
Doug O'Neill trains 2 in here, and he also claimed the other runner that he has in the field, number 5, Star Sailor, ridden by Johnny B. Beat Funkenstein last time out. I'm not sure that's any claim to fame, but there were 6 claims in, and Doug protects Star Sailor. Why do you not have Star Sailor in your top 2?
It's exactly what you said. Just based on basically running lines. This was the first time that he'd run at the bottom of the maiden claiming ranks. Problem for me is that despite winning in impressive fashion, the horses behind him, Funkenstein went and he kind of failed as a heavy odds-on choice in his last start. I'm just going to play against a horse like that. He can definitely win, make no mistake, but I'd rather take the 4-1 lesser liked of the O'Neill Brigade than to take the favored one.
It sounds like you might go single in the early pick 5, but we also saw that you kind of give a chance to number 2, Perfecto Amor. Tell us more about him.
I give Perfecto Amor a second chance shot. He's stretching out from a 7-furlong race where he caught the well-meant Gerlax, who had just come off of a race where he'd won by the length of the stretch down to Del Mar. He's now running first time for Val Brinkerhoff, who's a cagey horseman in terms of claiming horses. He doesn't do it a lot. He tends to be a little bit more conservative with his placements. And with this horse here, he's got a lot of pace. He's going to go to the front, and there's no reason why he can't take him all the way, despite me still preferring Mongolian Legend.
We know that you're working now for Sanita Express Bet and First Bet, but you also had a brief stint on the backside being a groom for trainer Steve Miotti. What's life like on the backside? And the reason why I ask is a lot of the betting public never gets back there, but I think you and I can agree that the way the horses are taken care of is second to none.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much fun to see. Really, it's an experience. Your day starts at 4:45.
Is that one of the reasons why you kind of hung up your tack pretty quickly?
Yeah, it wasn't. Hot walking was not for me, Tom. It was as much fun as it was. It was brutal. The getting up the 3 o'clock alarms, getting here by 4:45.
And it's 7 days a week.
Oh, it's 7 days a week. There's no days off.
No.
Fortunately for me, I did have days off. I was doing double duty. Fortunately, I was here in the morning, and then I'd go to marketing and work as just like Nate started as a marketing aide, and would be here all day, and then go home. And hey, that 3 o'clock alarm, that comes up a lot quicker than you think.
The horses eat no matter they win or lose, no matter whether they sleep or not, whether you sleep or not, whether you party or not. You got to be there when the bell rings, right?
Yeah, no matter what. I mean, when that alarm clock rings, you're getting up whether you want to or not, and you're going to be here, rain or shine.
As you get older, you can only imagine what it's like getting up at 3 in the morning. Race number 3 begins race number 3 today on today's 9-race card has a super high five carryover. $14,000 is the mount. No one hit the super high five in Sunday's last race. Their bad luck is your good luck, because now we have a carryover in race number 3, and we're sprinting 6 furlongs on the turf. Maiden claiming 3-year-old fillies in for a $50,000 tag. Program scratch of the 6. Also scratch number 9, Ducks on the Pond, leaves us with a field of 7. Morning line favorite number 5, Pretty Reina from the Michael McCarthy barn. First time Lasix, first time dropping down in class. 5-2 on the morning line. Thumbs up or thumbs down on the favorite here, Sebastian?
I'm not against the favorite here. She could definitely win. My only knock for her would be the price. She's a nice filly in her own right. You know, she's gonna get back to sprinting on the turf, which is her 2 best races of 3 so far have been that. But I just don't know if with the caliber of she is. I think there's a couple fillies in here that could be a little sharper on today.
And talk to us about who they might be.
So I'm on number 8, Indy Star. She's 10-1. She's had 2 starts, really done 0 running in both starts. Both of them were on the dirt for straight maidens. She caught Adair Manor, who won by the length of the stretch last time. She gets some class relief, gets on the grass, and Pete Urton's had an amazing start to the meet. I have no reason to believe that this filly won't fire her best shot here.
And who do you like also besides Indy Star?
So second, I like the 7 Artists. She's another filly. She's only had the 1 start. She did show a lot of pace in her debut race. Now she drops a little bit, gets the services of Flavian Pratt, which is why I think you're getting 3-1 instead of a little bit of a more inflated price. But she's another one where we haven't seen the best of her, and there's no reason for me again to believe that she's not going to improve today. Big work in tow.
When I was looking at race number 3, there were a couple of things that jumped off the page. Number 7, Artist, who you mentioned as your second selection. Pivotal jockey change here. Suddenly, after one dismal effort on the main track, Artist now gets the riding services of Flavian Pratt, first-time turf, being a daughter of Mo Heyman. Certainly has every right to improve in that jockey switch, as I indicated. Kind of signals that perhaps improvement is expected. And number 5, Pretty Reina, not only looks like she bled last time out, because if you look at her running line, she stopped to a walk, but also that was a very, very live race. The second, third, and another place runner all came back to win their next time out, including Pammy's Ready, who came back to win our nightcap, I believe, a week or 2 ago here at the Great Race Place for a trainer Ruben Alvarado. So Pretty Reina certainly is keeping good company, and the sight of seeing Johnny V in the saddle for Michael McCarthy certainly springs optimism as well. Race number 4 begins the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. The jackpot single ticket carryover now up to $313,000. That will be yours plus whatever is wagered today if you're the only winning ticket in today's 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. And we kick it off going 1 mile on the main track for fillies and mares. $10,000 is the claiming tag. Number 5, Take a Leap from the red-hot Vladimir Serin barn is 9-5 on the morning line. Vladimir, as I said, that's an understatement to say he's been red hot lately.
Oh my gosh, he's been on fire. All of his horses have been running extremely well, this one included. I just think she might be second to Destiny's Journey, which is pretty funny if you go ahead and you look at the form and you see that in their last race she beat Destiny's Journey by 4. But I'm on Destiny's Journey in this spot here, another filly where she's got a lot of pace. She always manages to be in front. She does make her first start for Ryan Hansen, who, if you do look at the form, you'll see 0 for 15 first off the claim. I think that a lot of his claims are more of like a long-term investment sort of deal. In this one here, I think this filly's turnkey, and I think she's ready to run a big race.
It's interesting. Destiny's Journey, there were 3 claims in the last time out, and you can see that she likes the San Anita main track. She's had 8 starts over it, 7 times in the money. So this could be a good claim. Obviously, the drop down in class could be a bit concerned, but this also could be a condition book play where there's really nowhere else to run her. And also, courtesy of Brad Free at the Racing Forum, we talked about number 5, Take a Leap. Take a listen to this statistic for the Vladimir Serin barn. His barn with favorites, 11 for 16 since September. That's an incredible win percentage. When the money shows up on Vladimir's horses, they usually fire. 11 for 16 since September for Serin saddle favorites. Race number 5 begins the 50-cent late pick 5. We're back on the turf course. 1 1/8 is the distance for Calbreds, non-winners of 1 other than. Take note, this race is for 3-year-olds and up, and there are 2 3-year-olds in the field. A bit unusual this early in the year to see that, but both number 5, Worst Reed Sanchez, and number 6, Bally's Charm, are 3-year-olds running against older, but number 4, Wilder Than Most, from another red hot barn, Carla Gaines, is the 9-5 morning line favorite. Give us your thoughts on race 5.
Wilder Than Most at 9-5. Boy, oh boy, if I could get any dollar in my pocket, I would do everything in my power if I could get 9-5 locked in right now.
What do you think we'll see?
I think
4-5.
Oh, 4-5, 3-5. He's going to be in the range of odds on. He's just been unbelievable, Tom.
He's a consistent horse, right? But last time out, he went over a wet, fast surface. Today's race is back on the turf course. He ran okay 2 back down at Del Mar over the turf course. Why do you have such high enthusiasm for him?
Well, what's really good is that you look at the comment in that race 2 back at Del Mar. It says pinballed upper stretch. Believe it or not, pinballed might be a very conservative statement for what happened to him. I believe that he was, on track to run a very big race. He sat on a 45 2.5, and he was absolutely clobbered. He might have been a little bit out of gas at that time, but he's just run such good races. His last race, he really powered through the line despite Flavien standing up in the final 16th. He's just been a really consistent and true performer, and really against these with the couple 3-year-olds that you've mentioned, he towers over this group. He's absolutely my key to the day.
Now, the way you're talking, it almost sounds like you might have 3 singles in the 50-cent early pick 5. Would you play it more than 50 cents? In other words, might you really crush it and play it for $5 and spread in a couple of the other races?
I would definitely say that as the way I would do it. Learn from one of the best in Leo Vukmanovic. He's always in my ear every time I'm constructing a ticket. I have him right there saying, "What are you doing here? What are you thinking here?" It's always good to surround yourself with people that are definitely sharper than you. That's how you get sharper.
He's definitely a true Sharpie, and we're always happy to have him on track. We can see on the graphic, you also like number 3, Happy, re-adding blinkers, I should say, for trainer Dan Ascardi. What do you like about Happy?
He's just another consistent type. He really thrives at this level. Getting back on turf. Well, he was back on turf last time. I'm back on turf as he caught Wilder the most and was beaten, ran a very good race. Now still back on turf, adding the blinkers. He's just a consistent performer where if the 4 should, stub a toe or not be as sharp as I think Happy will definitely roll up and pick up the pieces.
Another sequential wager begins in race number 6. That's the 50-cent late pick 4. And this race is 6 furlongs in the main track for maiden claiming $40,000 at the tag. Number 2, Grand Course Guy. First off the claim for trainer Bob Hessen, taking the blinkers off, is 9-5 on the morning line. Finally, we see another jock in the room with perhaps a chance to win, Edwin Maldonado. Typically, when we see him in the saddle, that means theft is on the agenda. Early speed likely to be shown, but blinkers off could be maybe they're trying to get the horse to relax. Mixed tea leaves. How did you read it?
I really like blinkers off of a speed horse. It gets them to relax. I feel like they show more pace when you get the blinkers off. They're just able to get into a smooth rhythm and do their best. I do end up on him second. I prefer Dixie's 2 cents. 2 back, he caught Chaz, who's now 4-5 tomorrow in a race where he definitely towers over that field with a 105 buyer. With Dixie's 2 cents, he's been at this level before. He's dropped down to maiden 20, so he's kind of been knocking on the door, so to speak. What's really interesting about that maiden 20, though, is Finestra for Vladimir Serin. Came back and won a nice race at Turf Paradise by a neck. For me, I think that maiden 20 shaped up to be tougher than this maiden 40. And so based on that, I like Dixie's 2 cents to get back on the dirt and run his best race.
You've got plenty of time if you're watching to watch race replays, and I would encourage you, as Sebastian indicated, go back and watch that replay for Dixie's 2 cents on November 20th. It was the 9th race at Del Mar. I think you'll walk away understanding why he got beat at 1-2 that particular day and why the connections have such optimism, raising him up to maiden 40,000. We've also talked a lot about trainer Doug O'Neill and some of his running runners today. Congratulations to him and all the connections with Hot Rod Charlie. They won a race today in Dubai. They shipped out there early to get a prep race into Hot Rod Charlie in anticipation of the Dubai World Cup. He emerged victorious today with William Buick in the saddle. Good luck to all the connections, especially here from Southern California, connected with Hot Rod Charlie. Race number 7, once again, back on the turf course. Again, 1 1/8 is the distance. This time, allowance optional claiming types non-winners of 2 other than a field of 6. Number 5, Evening Sun from the Jeff Mullins barn is 5-2 on the morning line. If you want to see a roughly ridden race, talking about replays, go back and watch this July 24th race down at Del Mar. He got disqualified out of a win. Let's just say it was a roughly ridden race. I'll leave it at that. Go back and watch it for yourself. He's obviously a talented horse. Last time out, showed early speed, which is uncharacteristic. Do you like Evening Sun, Sebastian, or somebody else?
I'm going to end up playing against Evening Sun here. I think that his best move is to go to the lead in this race. I do think there's other pace in Sash, and maybe another one might be able to get going a little bit. That's why I end up on the 3 flashiest. He gets much needed class relief. He gets Lasix back on. One thing for him though is he is somewhat pace compromised. But if Evening Sun and Sash do hook up where they could potentially, despite being same connections, I think Flashes will have something to run into, and he'll be able to fire his best race in some time.
Perfectionist might be another early pace candidate to keep Sash company up front. And you talked about Flashiest adding Lasix, and that's a very subtle point, and you make a good point, Sebastian, because we've seen Flashiest run in a number of graded stake races, and as we know here in Southern California and most jurisdictions around the country, you cannot use Lasix in stakes races. Since today's 7th race is not a stakes race, he's able to re-add Lasix, but it's somewhat subtle if you're not paying attention to the racing form. So thanks for pointing that out, and take a look at his performance in the Del Mar Derby back on September 4th down at Del Mar. Broke from post 13 in a field of 13 at odds of close to 13-1 and just missed. If he duplicates that performance today, he's going to be tough to beat. You also give a little bit of love to number 6, Awfully Naughty. Tell us why.
Awfully Naughty is just another horse that he runs his race every time. His buyers have improved every start. Johnny V gets back aboard. He won for 11 furlongs in his last start at Del Mar off a 19-day break, or I hope that's 19. My math might not be as good as it used to be.
Close enough for government.
Close enough, right? So off about a 19-day layoff. I mean, how would you like to have bought this horse for $4,000 back in 2020? That'd be pretty nice to make $88,000 in 6 starts.
You've more than 20 times your money, and certainly the horse has plenty of upside as well, being a lightly raced 4-year-old. We've talked a lot about different handicapping principles and angles, Sebastian, talking about speed figures and race replays and everything else. What about pedigree? We haven't talked much about pedigree. Are you much of a pedigree geek?
I am a pedigree geek. I focus more so on the dam side. When you have a sire that covers up to 200 mares a year, sometimes more, for me, it's not necessarily as important. I care about, if the dam produced and if the grandsire was a good producer. So I haven't really, seen any pedigree notes today that have really jumped out to me, but I'll typically look at one for maybe a first-time starter, maybe a second-time starter doing something different, making a move to grass, getting off the grass, getting to dirt, maybe in the slop. So I would say I am a bit of a pedigree enthusiast, but for the most part, for a card like today, it's all about the nitty-gritty, all the handicapping.
Our next race is the beginning of the $1 Golden Hour Pick 4. You talked about a lot of the wagers you played. Do you also get involved in the $1 Golden Hour Pick 4?
I absolutely adore the Golden Hour Pick 4. It consistently overpays, as well as the $5 Golden Hour Double. Everything about these two bets, they consistently overpay. The dollar minimum makes it that much harder to get to those long shots, so that if you do get to them, they pay even more. So as far as I'm concerned, the Golden Hour Pick 4 is probably my favorite bet at the track. I play it every day. Even I try to make tickets, even if I don't necessarily love anything. I'll just go ahead and key a 15-1 shot at Golden Gate or key a price here and try to get lucky. I haven't hit one yet, but it's on the way. It has to be. I play it too often for it to not be on the way.
It's intoxicating, that's for sure, for the reasons you mentioned, Sebastian. Higher minimum, lower takeout means better payouts. Yes, last weekend for our 3 days of racing, I can recall 2 of the Golden Hour Pick 4s paid in excess of $2,000 and $6,000. So as Sebastian indicated, it's a wager you should basically be making every day. And we kick things off in the first leg of the $1 Golden Hour Pick 4 here in race number 8, sprinting 6.5 furlongs on the main track. Allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 2 other than. Peter Urton has 2 in here, but the morning line favorite, the hard-knocking California gelding, number 5, fashionably fast, 2-1 on the morning line. This is kind of a tough race, even though there's just 5 runners, Sebastian.
This is a really tough race, Tom. You have the main speed and took charge drawn on the rail, so you know what he's going to end up doing. It's just a matter of if he can take them all the way. There's a question if the 6.5 is really what he wants to do, given that he was collared late. But that was basically a race-long duel against Aram, who I believe is a stakes type of a
From the
horse.
Sarin barn.
From the Sarin barn, yep. Another Sarin that just has fired this meet and for the last 4, 5, 6 months. I really took charge here, and I love the angle. He probably could use a little extra edge. So let's throw the hot riding apprentice on him and get the weight break and just send him down the road and see if he can go the distance.
Arm is 2 for 2 at this distance, so certainly we know he likes this distance, even though he's a speedball. Also, it's interesting they put the bug boy up. Certainly they're looking to gain every advantage. The one concern I have is that his 2 most recent victories were down at Del Mar. Now, granted, his 2 races here at San Anita weren't bad, but they didn't emerge victorious. So that's the one concern I have. Who else do you like in the race, Sebastian? It looks like you like the run around the bottom fashionably fast.
I do like the run on the bottom. I think he's poised to get a perfect trip. Maybe sit 3 wide, no kickback, just to put him in a good spot. He loves Santa Anita. He just is a hard knocking horse that shows up every time. When he gets outside, he gets brave. His race in the Cary Grant was solid. He was riding the inside, maybe an anti-rail that day, as Principe Carlo at 20-1 was as wide as you could be, and he got up in the final stride to win the race and won by a dirty nostril. Fashionably Fast is just a hard knocking Calbred who I've been a fan of for years, and he just keeps showing up for Dean, and he keeps trotting him out, and he keeps running.
And if you have the past performances in front of you, take a look at number 2, Canadian Pride. I talked about what a tough race this is. You can see that he has 2 lifetime victories. Both of them occurred second off the layoff. Specifically, on October 4th here at San Anita, he emerged victorious after being a second race off the layoff. And likewise, March 12th of 2021, once again breaking from the rail, also emerging victorious. Point being, today is Canadian's Pride second off the layoff as well. We'll see if that pattern continues. We close out the day in race number 9, but keep in mind live racing resumes tomorrow here at San Anita. Once again, a 9-race card that begins with a first post of 12:30. And as Sebastian mentioned, race number 9 begins the $5 Golden Hour Daily Double, linking our last race with the last race at Golden Gate. And this race here at San Anita is at a distance of 1 mile on the turf course. For maiden special weight Calbred, 3-year-old fillies, a good field of 9. Number 5, Mahita, is the 5-2 morning line favorite, but a lukewarm morning line favorite at that. A lot of different ways you can go. Which way you going, Sebastian?
I'm going with number 7, Exactly Wendy, to close out the card. This is a perfect example of a replay horse. She sat a decent trip down to the backstretch. Unfortunately, wasn't able to go at the pivotal moment and took a shuffle into the far turn. Came about, the comment line says 4 wide. I'd say it's closer to 8, but hey, we're splitting hairs at that point. The point is, when she needed to be good, she was kind of left, and she came back on. She wanted to lay in a little bit, and she tried through the wire. The filly that she finished in front of Ute came back about 2 weeks ago and absolutely jogged at going 6 furlongs. So the running lines are there for her. She placed behind Mediha, who is my second choice. She's coming out of the Cal Cup Oaks, where another horse that's somewhat of a trip horse. She wanted to lay in at the 8th pole, even though she was up against it. She didn't run a bad race at 43-1, and now she's back with her friends, adding Lasix again.
7 and 5 in race number 9. So says Sebastian. Sebastian, thank you so much for your time and insight today. More importantly, good luck with your career here at San Anita. Hopefully in 20 years from now, I'll be calling you general manager.
Oh, I would love it, but I would love to still be here in 20 years. How about that? General manager or otherwise.
Me and you both. We hope you're going to be here for another 20 years as well. More importantly, good luck on the races today. Next voice you hear will be track announcer Frank Miramati, updating us with any program changes. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and have fun.
Please rise for our national anthem.